Can everybody hear me well?
Yes.
Okay, super. My name is John Kozar. I'm the director at Chef John Folse Culinary Institute, and we are located at Nicholls State University in Thibodaux, Louisiana. We are the only culinary institute in Louisiana that offers a Bachelor of Science degree in culinary arts. So coming here is coming to college. You get to take all of the general education courses that every major takes. You get a well rounded education and you learn how to cook. And has anybody been to South Louisiana? Okay. The food
A
here
couple
is,
hands went up.
I saw a few. We've got really good food in this area. I'm originally from Pennsylvania, but I've been here for 20 years. And yeah, it's a great institution, the Culinary Institute and the university. It's a very family-oriented type of university. You're going to feel like you're just an extension from your home. Everybody will treat you uh, like a friend that they've had. So I have a screen share. Let's see how I got to do this. And what you're going to see is a virtual tour of our building. This is, it's really a complete rectangle. This is just showing the rooms that we had recorded. So our lobby faces north, and we'll use this area for some receptions and as a gathering point whenever groups are coming in for tours. We have at the opposite end a retail baking area. So our junior and senior level pastry students run a bakery out of there every Wednesday afternoon. Just to the left off of the lobby is what we call Bistro Ruth. If you've heard of Ruth's Chris Steakhouse, is anybody familiar with that chain?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, there's one. Okay, so it's a really good steakhouse. The woman who founded it is this woman right here. Her name is Ruth Fertel. She passed away a little bit over 20 years ago and left money to the Institute. So we named the restaurant after her, Bistro Ruth. Um, and there are two dining rooms. Typically, they're both open at the same time, but we have the pocket doors that we can pull shut if we're having different events going on. What you're seeing now is set up for an a la carte service. The students that take the class in here for the restaurant are juniors or seniors, so they've already gone through all of the basic lessons in the foundations of cooking. And then when they're in this class or in this semester, they'll be taking both a front of the house class, so you'll be doing dining room service and management, as well as kitchen preparation and management. They're broken up into leadership teams. They create a menu for their week, and they do everything, all of the paperwork for the menu. So they'll get all of the recipes, calculate what they need to requisition, and then do the organize the prep lists and go through a day of prep and then an execution day for their dinner. So the dining room holds a maximum of 96 guests at any one time. Typically, what we do for the restaurants is have it on a reservation basis. So people are sitting down at tables every 15 minutes or so the kitchen doesn't get overwhelmed. The only exception to that would be when we do a Russian service, which is a banquet type service, and there will be 72 guests that sit down at the same time, and it's a choreographed service, 6 courses with wine. Um, so oops, we hopped right into the kitchen. Down at this end, we have the server station. So they would come in from the dining room, just over here. Their beverage station, iced tea, coffee, ice, a cooler. Um, they'll have warmers for their dinner rolls. They've got a POS station, so they'll go ahead and type their orders in here. If they're bringing in dishes, they go back to the pot sink area in the back. There's a pot sink and a dishwasher back there. They have their hand sink. If it's not a service day, this area is used as prep. And on service days, the campus food service folks have a liquor license and they'll serve beverage alcohol out of this area. We run it through our POS and then pay them for their service. So as we go down the line, we'll see the hot food line, of course, is closest. This is our expediting area. There's a POS here, so the line gets their orders over there. The beverage station gets orders over at the beverage station. And we have a cold food station that does salads and desserts. So that's where they're going to get their cold food from that area. And then just, oops, go back into the dining room through here. Take us back here a little bit. On the back of the line is equipment that is used during the prep stages. So we've got cooler, fryers. Oops, I'm sorry, I'm taking you all over the place here. On the front line, the things that we need in order to run a restaurant line, we've got our storage cooler, a couple of 6 burners with ovens below them. Okay. This machine, oh goodness, I'm sorry. That is called an i5 oven. Has anybody heard of one of those?
I've not. Any of you guys? No.
Okay, so it's basically a combi microwave convection oven. So you can do things really quickly. It comes in handy if we get late notice that there's an allergy in the dining room or a special needs menu, and we can take something and get it cooked so that it can match with the rest of the entrees. Usually folks we have a regular group of people eating in the dining room, and they know to let us know about allergies, but sometimes it just pops up. So we've got 2 of those, a little steam table here where we keep the sides for the different dishes. We've got a double stack combi oven, as well as flat top, salamander, and a grill all on the front line. In the back, we had the fryer. We try not to have as many fried foods on the menu. We've got a tilt brazier back here that we can, the chef that runs the kitchen likes to make their own stocks, so they do their stocks for the menus that they're going to prepare. We've got a steamer and then a couple of tilt kettles for this kitchen. They've got a walk-in cooler and freezer in the kitchen, which is nice. And then they are very close. And it's going to take me all the way around. Okay, so there's a chef's table here that guests can have private dining during an a la carte service. And then just down that hallway is the commissary. It's only about 20 feet away. Okay. This main hallway is where we have 4 kitchen laboratories. And trying to get there. And we're going to go into 2 of them. This kitchen is dedicated to meat fabrication and garde-manger. So it's going to have a little bit different layout. It's got a lot of prep table space. There is cooking equipment on 2 sides of the line. So we have 2 6 burners on each side of this line. Pot sink, of course. In the back, we have a cool room where we do sausages and any type of grinding that we need to do. Have y'all made any sausage in your class yet?
Chef Burnett was goofing around with it last year, but not this year thus far.
Okay, so we want cooler temperatures whenever we're doing the grinding. We want to reduce bacterial growth and also keep the emulsion because there's a lot of fat in the sausages. So you want to be careful. If it gets too warm, that is going to break, just like a hollandaise sauce would break or a vinaigrette would break. We've got a double stack smoker in this kitchen. There's another tilt brazier. This combination, 2 pieces of equipment. The first one is a CVAP oven, and the CVAP oven is an alternative to cooking sous vide with an immersion circulator. If you're familiar with that, the immersion circulator uses a water bath to hold the temperature and cook your food. The same thing can be done in this cabinet. It can be cryovac food, or it can just be straight on a sheet pan. And it has the added feature that if you want to brown something in here, you can do that as well. This big monster is a blast chiller. So whenever we need to cool something down quickly, we'll put it in there. It's got 4 temperature probes. And have y'all taken your ServSafe certification yet?
They have their Texas food handlers.
Okay, alrighty. So you have to cool food down within a certain period of time. This will keep a record of how long it takes individual food items to cool down, and then you can have that sent to a desktop computer and have a record if the health department wants to come in and take a look at how you're cooling down things. Some more prep tables over here, ice machine, and then the opposite side of the line, we've got the got 2 6 tops, a grill, and fryer then in this kitchen. Is there anything else you see in here that you have a question about?
Guys, anything? Oh, no, but do you know what POS system you use?
I know that it needs to be replaced.
Mine too.
And I'm not sure what we're replacing it with, but
Okay.
once we get back from the holidays, that's a major focus. Okay, let me just. The kitchen, there are 2 kitchens that we didn't go into. They're all-purpose kitchens. Every one of our kitchens is designed for 16 students in the labs. So they're in the first 2 kitchens, it's 4 lines at 4 students at each line. So there's a prep table with plenty of room for 2 people to work at, a prep sink, a cooler, a 6 burner stove, and then the rest of the equipment that we saw in the restaurant kitchen. So that's in 2 kitchens that we have here. We have a student lounge, which has computers and printers that the students use, and our Student Culinary Association, which is where every student that's a culinary major can participate with that group. That's where they'll hold their meetings, as well as folks actually study in there. So it's kind of nice. We do have lockers available for students to store their belongings in during the lab classes. Next kitchen is the baking and pastry kitchen. Again, designed for 16 students. Any given line has 2 benches, an equipment storage area. You can see we've got 2 KitchenAid mixers for each table, and among the equipment they have under there, of course, is like things like rolling pins, cutters, scales, and there's also it's not the immersion circulator, it's the induction ovens or induction stovetops. You're all familiar with induction cooking? Anybody? There's
some nods and shakes.
Okay, so induction, and I don't have one shown in here, but induction is it's got a flat surface to it, and it will only work if you have a pot that is magnetic. So it works with cast iron or stainless steel. And the magnetic energy is what heats the pot and then the food in it. The idea behind that is you don't have these big flames going on and heating up your pastry kitchen, because you want the temperature to stay as cool as possible in there.
Water in like 6 seconds.
Oh, Chef Burnett said it also can boil water in about 6 seconds.
Yes, and when we do the live tours, I'll often pull out one and just stick my hand on the surface of the pan just to show how fast it does get hot, and it gets hot fast. In the front of the room, we've got marble tables, so that's used for if you need to temper chocolate. We do that, the tabling technique on there, as well as rolling out anything that needs an extra cool surface to it. So something like a rolled fondant or pastillage, what those are used for. There is a nice little dough press here. Oftentimes this kitchen will make dinner rolls for the restaurant. So what the dough press does is takes 2 to 3 pounds of dough. You put the same amount in each time. You pull down the press and it portions it out into 36 equal pieces, which cuts a lot of the work down when it comes to making dinner rolls. And then on this side of the lines, we have 20-quart mixers. So the students have that's the largest mixer that we have in the building. The storage bins, and then in the back of the room, which I don't think our camera went all the way back there, there is a walk-in cooler with a walk-in freezer behind it. One of the other things that I like about this kitchen is our deck oven is an electric deck oven. So it doesn't have to go under the hood. It's got top and bottom separate settings for heating in each oven. It's steam injected, so it's good for doing baguettes, because you need that steam injection, you need that high heat that we can get in this oven. It's a really good, solid piece of equipment. Any pastry people in the kitchen or in the class? One?
About 6 to 7, maybe 8.
Okay, all righty.
Majority.
We have the first 2 years in our curriculum, students learn how to cook everything. So you would go through meat fabrication, stock, sauces, and soups, garde manger, baking, your knife skills, cooking techniques, fruits and vegetables. And then as juniors and seniors, you can head into one of the concentrations that we have. So one of them is patisserie. There's a culinary operations, which is focused on hot food, as well as culinary management courses. We have a service management concentration. Most people coming into the program don't think they are going to like working in the front of the house. But we end up getting students who decide that, wow, after a couple of years here and seeing what work in a kitchen is like, they're better suited for the dining room. So those students will take beverage operations and intro to wine, food and wine pairing, and they'll do a advanced service class where they learn tableside cooking, and they just had that dinner Wednesday night. So that was that was the cap of that program. And then we're closely associated with the other colleges on campus. So the College of Business has created concentrations for our majors, as well as mass communications. If anybody's interested in video production or journalism or public relations, we have those options as well. And then our classrooms are at the west end of the building. And this is actually a double classroom. It's we had this recorded during COVID, so everything was opened wide up because, of course, everybody had to sit far away. But the opposite end of the kitchen is the demo kitchen. Let's see if I can get over there. Okay, so this is the actual presentation area. There's a 6-burner stove there, a fryer, and a grill. We've got ceiling mounted cameras right over the hood system, and then one halfway through the room. There's a control system over here. So we get to do quite a few chefs have come in to do demos here. We get to record them. Folks in the mass comm interest can go ahead and then take those videos and edit them. And then one of our faculty members worked with Chef Fultz for close to 8 years, and she would appear on the morning news show with him every week, and they had a short cooking segment. So she has a lot of experience with doing quick demos and quick videos, and she'll teach that to our students as well. And that's pretty much the tour of our building. We didn't go into all of the kitchens. The campus is really a beautiful campus. It was rated the safest campus in Louisiana. We're about an hour or so away from downtown New Orleans. It's really difficult to hold a job in New Orleans and to be able to come to school at the same time. But we do have some students that work in the restaurants over the weekends. It's really difficult to try and be a student here and work full-time in New Orleans. But there's plenty of restaurants in this local area where students can work while they're coming to school. So what kind of questions do y'all have?
I had to step out at the beginning of your presentation. Did you say who Chef Fultz is?
I did not. Chef Fultz is known as Louisiana's culinary ambassador to the world. He has, he's been in the culinary business for, it's probably going on 40 years now. He's in his mid-70s. He started a restaurant called Lafitte's Landing years ago, and then he started a tiny little business in New Orleans where he prepared food for other restaurants, especially when casinos started developing along the Mississippi coast. And that little business, when I started, that's where his manufacturing area was. It was like a 2-story building that might have been 1,000 square feet. Since then, he has built a 30,000 square foot building up in Donaldsonville. He does millions of pounds of food for all sorts of companies. Some of it you might see in the freezer section in your grocery store. There, he's got Louisiana Classics gumbo, etouffee. He does a corn and crab chowder. He does a lot of products that way, and then restaurant chains that that are basically boil in the bag restaurants. He'll manufacture food for them as well. He uses their recipes and then sends that product out to them. So they've got a steady supply of that product, and it's consistent. So how many of you are working in restaurants? Okay. So if you're working in a place where everything is done from scratch, then that's you're not going to need his manufacturing plant. But as we found out during COVID, having people work in a kitchen was very difficult. So his business actually increased because people still needed food, and he could provide it on a continuous basis at the same level of quality every time. He is in a partnership, which I think may have just ended. He has Restaurant Revolution in New Orleans. It's a fine dining restaurant that's been around probably for about 10 years. He has a White Oak Estates up near Baton Rouge, and that's where our students are today. The restaurant class students went up there, and he's treating them to lunch at his estates outside of the Baton Rouge area. He's written numerous cookbooks. In fact, let me this can't, it doesn't want to show. The Encyclopedia of Cajun and Creole Cuisine, that was the first monster cookbook that he wrote. And in fact, when I started here, there were a lot of our students that were helping him with research on those recipes. He's done several other cookbooks. One is called After the Hunt. There's one that's dedicated to seafood, and another one to Louisiana vegetables. So Chef Folse is a huge proponent of what our mission is at this university, and that's preserving the cuisine and culture of South Louisiana. So you've heard of Cajun and Creole cuisine, and like his Encyclopedia of Cajun and Creole goes into detail. There were 7 nations that influenced South Louisiana cuisine. If you can see our logo up in the right here, that's got the flags of those 7 nations, and it's Native America and France, and then Spain and Africa, Britain, Germany, and Italy, and that's a chronological listing of the countries that have influenced South Louisiana cuisine. And he's also fully aware that in the last 20 years or so, there's a huge Asian influence on food in South Louisiana as well. So that's the quick story of Chef Folse. He's cooked for every president since probably Nixon. He was the first chef from the United States to go to Russia after the Berlin Wall came down back in the 80s. He's worked at Olympics in England. Uh, he really is the culinary ambassador for Louisiana.
Yeah, absolutely. I knew a lot about that or of him, but I didn't know some of those details. So that's pretty cool. You guys offer our students in-state tuition. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. It'll show up on the bill as out-of-state tuition, and then you get a scholarship for the difference. So, yeah, it's the same as Louisiana students pay. I know, Chef, that you know Hillary Charpentier. She was able to get Texas Restaurant Association scholarships as well as Louisiana Restaurant Association scholarships while she was here. So that's also a good source of funding. We do have we probably have a couple of dozen scholarships that we offer through either the university or through our institute. If you have any senior students that are interested in coming to Nichols, please apply before January 5th. If you got a good GPA in high school, you'll be eligible for university scholarships that will last for the 4 years that you're here, and that will go toward both tuition and housing. And that can be a pretty big chunk of change if you have good high school grades.
That's neato. What about, well, I guess talk about housing. They can still rush if they wanted to do the whole fraternity sorority thing.
Exactly. Yeah. So we don't have physical houses for Greeks. They have the resources to meet on campus, but they don't have like a frat house. But there are several Greek organizations. We have football team, we have marching band. So several culinary students have been either in the marching band or one of the other bands on campus. We've had athletes for sure. So if you have any athletes that are interested, this is one of the few culinary institutes that you can attend and still be a student athlete. Greeks, there's all kind of clubs and organizations of all types on the campus. I can't begin to list them all. I mentioned our Student Culinary Association. If you're a culinary major, you're automatically in it. There are no membership fees. I know that I don't know which movie they've chosen. They're doing a movie and snacks night after we get back from Thanksgiving and right before final exam starts. I know earlier in the semester they watched Ratatouille, and the chef made Ratatouille in the style in the movie, which is a lot of work. Trying to think what else is that we have. The other thing unique to us is that we are a member of the Alliance by Institut Paul Bocuse, and that institute is located in Lyon, France, where they have excellent restaurants as well as an excellent school. And right now we're in the process of getting applications from our senior students to attend classes there next summer with students from all over the world. There's about 23 countries in the Alliance, and many of them are able to send students there for the summer. So we do fundraising so that we can pay for the students' tuition and their housing and transportation from here to Lyon and back. So it's a great opportunity. Over the years, we've sent probably close to 60 students. Right now I have 5 that I had promised back from 2020, and COVID came in. I had told them that we would send them. And next summer is the first time that they're restarting the program. And then we'll be able to send 2 more students over there with them.
Is
So-
that, oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Kozar, is that part of, you guys offer international work abroad or study abroad through Nichols?
Technically, yes, you're overseas. You can go and you can earn credit at Nichols while you do that, or you can, like some of our people, students will go after they've graduated and they don't necessarily need college credit. It's not the same as an exchange program, but we're working on those. Of course, we've got 20 different countries to contact to work with those kind of things, and the Alliance has an articulation agreement, and we just got to work on getting those done with different countries. But in 2019, we were able to host the educator seminar here at Nichols State. We had folks from South America and from Asia, Canada, and Europe come over, and they got to experience Cajun and Creole cuisine for a week, see what it is that we do here. And then that program stopped during COVID, and just this year we met up in Canada at a place called Conestoga College, and got to experience Southeast Canada and their unique cuisine. If anybody's been in that area, it's been a very long time because I grew up not too far away from there. But they have vineyards in Canada, which I was not aware of, and that's become a big industry for them. And is anybody familiar with ice vine?
Yes.
Okay,
I
ice
am.
vine. It's late harvest grapes. They're frozen. They make a red ice vine, which I had never even heard of before, and it's actually quite good. But these vineyards are typically much smaller than vineyards that we'd be accustomed to in California, say. But there's a lot of international opportunities. We've had students, I have an alum who has a restaurant in Beijing. We've had students do internships around the world, basically. South Korea, China, different countries in Europe. Last summer, we sent our first student to Ivory Coast in Africa, and we're looking to do that again this summer. That was a very good experience for her.
Is that part of graduation requirements, is to have a certain amount of time for an externship or internship?
We do have, at the current time, we require 2 internships. One is done at the sophomore level, and the second is done at the senior level. So typically, it would be students eligible for their second internship that we would look at sending overseas.
That's pretty cool. What about, so we have a former student that went to your campus, Taylor Carrington, and she went to, I think, North or South Carolina and was part of a pro golf something or other. Do you, that was a couple years ago. Do you recall that? Was that part through the college?
Yeah, the Augusta National hosts the Masters tournament the first weekend in April every year. And probably for about 6 or 7 years, they've been sending a bus over here and hires our students to help work the event. They do this with numerous culinary schools along the East Coast, and I'm not sure they go much further west than us. But that's like 10 days of really solid work. A great networking opportunity because they've got chefs from all over the country that come there, and they do things at a very high level of quality. one of the things that they do is they have a restaurant that sells burgers, and they're mostly wild game burgers, but they temp every single burger before it goes out. And they have health inspections of their kitchens every day during the tournament, and they're unannounced, so you don't know when they're going to come in. You know you're probably going to be very busy when they do. So it's a great experience for students, and it's a good way for them to make quite a chunk of change, because you're going to work a lot of overtime in that week. And I think their base rate is $15 an hour, and you get time and a half for the overtime. They provide the transportation. They provide dorm rooms or hotel rooms, depending on, I guess, on how much they like you. We've had the dorm rooms, except for when they had to put people up for COVID. And then if in the Carolinas, the Biltmore is one of the internship sites. We have two students. One of them graduated in August. The other graduates in December, and they're both going there to work in the pastry kitchen. And that's a really high-end resort. And we have relationships with country clubs and resorts all over the country, up in outside of New York City, in South Florida, in Oklahoma, in California. We had a student do an internship at Per Se in New York City last summer. A while ago, we had another student at a Thomas Keller restaurant, the French Laundry in California. So yeah, there's lots of, Chef Foltz knows people around the world. He's one of the students that did go to France, made a connection through him, and was able to go over to Italy and work at a vineyard for a couple of months. They put him up. He basically worked for room and board while he was in Italy. So that was a great opportunity.
That's really neat. Nobody gets into the French Laundry. So
Right.
that's pretty fantastic. Can you talk to our kids about the dual major opportunity?
Dual major opportunity.
Didn't you go for a dual major or something?
We have a bunch of concentrations, and you're going to have to forgive me if I'm repeating myself, because I had a face-to-face tour this morning. You can get more than one concentration fairly easily. So if you want to get strengthen your business background, you can get a business concentration, as well as something like patisserie, or one of the hot food concentrations. It's not that difficult to get a service management concentration with one of the other concentrations. I do have one student right now who is double majoring in culinary arts and in accounting. That is really unusual. But he came here with basically an associate degree worth of credit from high school. So he's got the time and credits to do something like that. I've only had one other student do biology and culinary in the 20 years that I've been here. We've had students that got their associate degree in culinary and then a bachelor degree in dietetics. We have a lot of students that from here will go on to grad school and study things like business or hospitality management or food science. We have an alum who has a PhD in food science, and he's running a program in New Orleans. We actually have 5 PhDs that have come through this program, which is pretty impressive, I think, for a culinary institute. I think what else? There's so many opportunities and pathways that you can take with a culinary education. It's just from my own experience. When I worked at Beau Rivage in Biloxi, Mississippi, big resort casino, And I was at a lot of meetings, interdepartmental meetings, and the people that knew anything about cooking were much more successful if they were in catering sales or if they managed banquets or any aspect of the hotel. They were stronger if they knew more about the kitchen. So it's a lot of people think that if you go to culinary school, you're going to end up working in a kitchen for the rest of your life, and that's just not the case. We also, I'm sorry, I know I haven't mentioned this one. We have an education concentration that gives students a leg up on getting secondary educator certification in Louisiana. Not that we want students to go directly into teaching out of here, but ideally you get some couple of years, maybe 5 years of experience working in a kitchen and then go into high school, become a pro start teacher or some type of a culinary teacher in high school. Or if you eventually wanted to teach at the university, it would give you a heads up on that type of thing.
So we still have to allow time for like taking the trash out and the kids to change.
Okay.
Is there and we're doing okay though, but is there something that I mean, I don't know how many culinary schools are left in Louisiana. It's been a bit since I lived there. But what's the drawing factor for them to cross that state line and head to Louisiana?
It would be us because of the uniqueness of the program, the academics involved with it. There are several community colleges that have associate degrees or certificate programs. We're the only school that has that 4-year college experience. So if that, in my mind, that gives a lot of strength to the degree. I personally was a career changer, and I already had a bachelor degree. And when I was about 30, I went to culinary school to one of the Cordon Bleu programs. And I got a lot out of it because I already had an education and some life experience. But the students coming out of high school, I could see they would have a really hard time going through that quick of a program and not getting what I would consider to be a well-rounded education. So it's and the food here is incredible. Like if you've been to South Louisiana, almost everybody can cook here.
Sorry, it's just the land of the bells here.
Okay, alrighty. And we get the honor of being judges at lots of contests and cooking events, and I'm really impressed at what the average person can cook in Louisiana and the culture. Like I said, I'm from Pennsylvania. I've been here for 20 years, and this is home. I can't say that about a lot of places.
All right. So let's see. How can they find out more information about the campus? Like if they want a visit or to receive some information?
Yeah, I'll send you some information about how to do that type of thing. Our website is nichols.edu. And if you search for culinary, like every page on the website is going to invite you to come here for a tour. Or to apply to Nichols. I know there's a lot of information on the website. You can email culinary@nichols.edu. And then we can get, if you've got specific questions about housing or financial aid or any of those questions, we can direct you to the person that can answer those questions.
Wonderful. Do you guys have any questions for Mr. Kozar? No?
He's asked one question.
Oh, he just answered the one. Okay.
Okay.
Anybody else? Anyone? All right. Oh, wait, there's a hand. Yes.
How many people graduated from the program last year?
How many people graduated from your program last year?
last year, roughly 50. We have just about 200 majors at any given time. That's down a little bit from before COVID. So yeah, we had about 50 graduate last year.
Is that fairly average?
It is. We've got spring and fall graduations, and then you can earn your degree in August. So there's 3 different graduation points in the year. But it's pretty much an average of 50 per year.
How long are your classes? 6 weeks, 8 weeks?
Oh, it's a semester long. So for the spring and the fall, it's 15 weeks. And then in the summer, there's an 8-week session. And we limit that to online classes for our program. Occasionally, we'll have a lab. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. The only class I teach in a half semester is sanitation. And that would be a 7-week class.
Okay, and that's for Serve Safe?
Yes, for managers.
Got it.
Yes. Are you waving or are you asking?
Oh, yes, sorry, Carl.
What's the acceptance rate into the college?
Say it again, I'm sorry.
What's the acceptance rate into the college?
What is your acceptance rate into Nichols?
Wow, I don't know if I have a number on that. Like, the website has standards for admission, which is there is not a higher standard for culinary. We don't have a problem accepting students. So they're going to look at your GPA, and if you've taken ACT or SAT, they'll look at that as well. But it's mostly going to be based on your high school GPA and the courses that you've taken. For some reason, a 2.5 GPA is sticking in my head. But if you shoot me an email at culinary@nichols.edu, I'll be happy to get that information for you. And of course, we encourage everybody to apply because we have a certain amount of latitude as far as if you don't meet every one of the requirements, we can do some exceptions.
Good.
Yes.
Oh, there is one more over there.
You said that for us, if we go there, we have an in-state tuition.
That's correct.
Would that be like straight after high school or this end?
That's, oh, sorry, Mr. Kozar. The question was, we mentioned earlier that we are able to extend in-state tuition to
Yes.
our students. Is it only applicable immediately after high school graduation, or is it kind of an ongoing thing? So like if that student was to go to the community college across the street for a year and be like, I want to go to a real experience, and then they come, is that still applicable?
My understanding is that yes, it is. We get quite a few transfer students that will do that they'll get an associate degree and then come here later, and or they might be changing their major from another university, and they would get the in-state tuition.
Sweet. Thank you. Oh, one more question.
Is the SAT and ACT required for acceptance?
ACT and SAT, is that a requirement for acceptance?
It's not a requirement. If you have them, they're going to want to see them. But I don't believe you actually have to have them in order to get accepted.
Okay. Neato. Anybody else? Okay, I think we're looking pretty good here.
Alrighty. I will get the video from this and have the early part edited out,
Okay, thank you.
and we'll get that over to you.
I would appreciate that, so we can show or at least give them the opportunity to watch it as well.
Okay.
So
Have you been getting recipe emails from us?
No,
Okay. I'm going to have to make sure that you're on the list.
I would love it. Thank you.
Okay. Alrighty.
That'd
All
be
right, everybody. everybody have a good Thanksgiving.
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mr. Kozar. Thanks for your time. We appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye. Where is?